Hello, everyone. Welcome to our October DealerOn webinar. It is officially spooky season. I'm actually already wearing a mask right now. I am disguised as a working mom who definitely got enough sleep last night because she obviously went to bed at a reasonable hour instead of scrolling TikTok. It's not really a unique costume. I actually saw a ton of them this morning in the Starbucks line. But I'll tell you what's really scary, and that is seeing dealers who aren't paying attention to compliance and accessibility. Ooh, it gives me the shivers. And that might have been the best segue I've ever done on a webinar. So congrats to all of you who joined on time to see it. My name's Erin Zabarak. I am your host and the director of marketing here at DealerOn. We're excited to bring you these webinars, and I have a lot of new friends here with us today, people we met at Digital Dealer last week, and a lot of our DealerOn website customers. So welcome if this is your first time here with us. Whether you are a DealerOn dealer now or you aren't just yet, I promise this session's going to be educational. You're going to walk away with a lot of action items. So I know enough about compliance and accessibility to be dangerous, but that can actually be very dangerous in this space. So I'm excited to welcome a few experts. Joining me today are Zach Dillon with Accessiby and Sarah Warner with Termly. Zach, Sarah, thank you for being here.
Thanks for
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. All right. I still see people joining. Let's cover a few logistics here before we get started. We are recording the training today. We will send everybody both the deck and the recording after the session later in the day. I'm not sure we're going to take up the full 60 minutes, but nobody's ever complained to me about getting some time back, so I don't anticipate that today either. You should see a Q&A section here in Zoom. I'm going to be hanging out there. I will also have one of our in-house compliance experts, Nat Osgood, helping me to respond to your questions during the webinar. With the content today, it's a lot. It's a lot to stay on top of. So ask all your questions. We're going to bring some up live for the experts here. And I always say, if you have the question, I know somebody else does too. So type it in there and we will all learn together. All right, let's see. Yeah, we're ready to go. Okay, we got a lot of content today. I'm driving, so I can click. Here we go. Let's get into it. Compliance. Sorry, everybody. We're not going to be talking OEM compliance today. I know that bums you out. It's everybody's favorite, but it's a whole other set of rules and guidelines. I think we got our hands full with privacy and these similar considerations. Sarah, it's a lot. It's a lot to keep track of, a lot to be on top of. I think if you live in California, it's multiplied by 3. But starting off, what should dealers be thinking about when it comes to compliancy and privacy laws?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a lot and it can be very complicated, Erin. There are a lot of moving parts to compliance when we're talking about privacy. Just here in the States, not even considering global, you have laws, state laws changing, evolving every day. So there's a lot of moving pieces. And in solving for compliance, there are a lot of things to consider. So consent management is a big one. That, of course, is going to be, your cookie banner, your cookie policy, those records of consent, privacy policies, legal policies like terms and conditions. DSARs are data subject access requests or delete my data requests. So that's an important piece too. And then, there are a lot of questions and maybe uncertainty about opt-in versus opt-out. What are the settings on all of those tools? I mentioned the evolving legal landscape. It's like daily that we are hearing about, a new law in a different state being enacted or changes to CCPA, which is California's privacy law. And then, of course, AI tools. We're sharing data all over the place. I mean, who can even keep track of where that data is going? With whom are we sharing? All of those different things. So data mapping comes into play. There really is so much. And it can be very complicated.
It is. And how much of this, and I know we're going to get into it a little bit, but early question, and the first thing that always crosses my mind is, as a business owner, what do I have to be in charge of? What should my website platform be in charge of? I mean, I think there's probably a lot of dealers who think, yeah, they got it covered, but
Yeah.
that's not right. Everybody's got to focus on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it used to be, maybe it was like a nice to have. And now it really is the case that it's a requirement across the board. And some of those requirements are going to be, like you said, on your website. Some of them are going to be in your brick and mortar or in your dealership,
Right.
in your privacy practices with third parties. Yeah, there really is, as far as like the delegation of responsibilities, it's the entire team that's going
Yeah.
to be stakeholders in this and need to participate for full compliance as far as privacy is concerned.
Yeah, I think as we look for new partners, dealers are always evaluating their third-party partners, whether it's for SEO, advertise, whatever. These have to be questions that you ask. How do you manage, privacy? How do you manage compliance? Asking the questions is how we can start the conversation because, as you mentioned, it's critical business across everything that you touch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's not just the privacy laws that are requiring this compliance. Your consumers are demanding it. Okay. It used to be nobody reads the privacy policy or who even cares about that. People are ignoring the cookie banner and things like that. Not really the case anymore. Users are expecting to be able to understand the privacy practices of the businesses that they're doing business with. They want to exercise their privacy rights. They want control over their data. With whom are you sharing it? How is it being used? And they want to be able to trust the brands that they're doing business with. Couple of stats for us. 94% of consumers shared with us through this survey that they want control over the information that they share. And that can mean everything from no tracking on the website, or maybe I do share consent for marketing or share it with affiliates or not. All of those kind of granular controls, they want control. 92% are more likely to trust companies that provide those controls. So businesses and dealerships that are saying, hey, user, it's in your hands. Here's everything that you need to make those decisions, and convey those decisions to us, and we'll honor them. Building that trust is crucial for users now.
Yeah, and to your point, it's expected, and it's expected before the purchase. It's expected with the browsing. Any website I go to now, I expect it to ask me.
Yeah.
Now, I'm the person who I'm like, yes, take all the data, do whatever. If it's going to make my life easier, take it and send me the ad. I don't mind. And I think it's interesting. I've seen a ton of studies like this. They expect it. Customers expect this. Most will grant it to you if
Oh,
you are
absolutely.
simply doing things right. Is that what you found as well?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it kind of raises a red flag if you arrive at a site and you don't see that cookie banner.
Right.
Like what happened? Is this legitimate?
Exactly.
Where do I click yes? So
Exactly. I'm waiting to say accept. Where is it? Now I've got the heebie-jeebies a little bit. No, totally. So, and then it can affect negatively. Obviously, we saw the positive, but another interesting stat.
yeah, absolutely. And this is huge. I mean, think of your customer base at the dealership or in any business. 30%, 37%, excuse me, of users have terminated relationships with companies over data. Can you imagine that kind of an impact to your book of business if 37% just walked out the door based on privacy concerns?
Yeah. And clicked to this. I mean, we're looking at, terminate a relationship. If your relationship hasn't even began because it's a new customer on your website, can you afford a 37% defection rate?
I
No,
don't see any businesses that can. Yeah.
no,
No,
absolutely
absolutely.
not. Yes, I love all the data. I'm such a data nerd when I don't have to be the one pulling it. So I love all the stats. Tell us
Yeah.
what else you got.
A couple more. So 76% of consumers reported that they will not buy from companies that they don't trust with their data. So again, back to those privacy practices. Who are you sharing data? What is the purpose? And are you transparent about that? A lot of consumers feel that it's just the kind of shrouded in mystery. Where is my data going? Just the fact that they don't know that makes them hesitant to do business, not so much, yes, we share it with A, B, and C. Okay, that's fine. Maybe that's easier for them
Right.
to accept versus, it's an unknown. And then 60% would actually pay more. And I love this so much. 60% would pay more to brands that handle data responsibly. And so I've run that by, like, maybe there's a markup for privacy, a trustworthy company or something like that. I mean, I think that's huge. And I mean, that just tells you how much consumers are valuing their privacy and the ability to exercise their privacy rights.
Yeah.
So ultimately, privacy first marketing is about more than compliance. It really is about building that trust with the users, being transparent, and giving visitors to your website and giving your customers the easy to understand ways to opt in and opt out of sharing.
Yeah, I mean, let's all be real honest. We're doing it because we have to, for the most part, right? However, these stats really prove that there is a customer intrinsic value in doing this, in addition to avoiding the lawsuits. I think anybody can do a quick Google search for privacy law dealer lawsuit, and
Yeah,
you're going to see some horror stories. Hopefully, nobody's lived them here,
right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Perfect.
absolutely. It's a legal requirement. There's legal obligation. Compliance comes with risks, and hopefully we're limiting liability. And all of those warm, fuzzy feelings that go along with that, the building the trust, the honoring, consumers' wishes and things like that. That's just added bonus.
Absolutely. All right, what do I got here? There we go.
Okay, so we've established it's not optional. It is a requirement, and dealers should ensure that it's done properly on the website. So there's a couple of things that come into play with that. Like I said, I mentioned the cookie banner, the cookie policy, a preference center where users can change their mind. Maybe they did accept all cookies and now they want to only accept a certain category of cookies, or they want to redact that choice. The data subject access request form, making it easy. That's part of compliance, is making it easy for users to submit those requests, saying, delete my data, correct my data, don't share, don't sell, all of those types of things.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I've been doing webinars for quite some time, and I remember cookieless future. Everybody, we're going to prepare for cookieless future. The cookies are going away. Google said no more.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Nah, Google changed their mind. And we love you, Google. I know you can hear me. It's fine. And yeah, there's a lot of different options now. You mentioned cookie banners. I think this is one of the hottest topics for dealers, especially our customers at DealerOn with their websites. So Core Web Vitals is something else we've been talking a lot about. And it's one of the questions we do get a lot is, well, yeah, I need to be compliant. I want to be compliant, but I cannot drag down my website speed because of it. And you shouldn't have to, right?
No, that's a critical consideration when choosing a CMP, which is consent management platform. The impact that it has to your website, to the performance, to tracking, to your analytics, to everything, is an important consideration. And there are definitely strategic ways that you can minimize that impact. Anytime, let's just be real candid. Anytime you add a script that is going to block other scripts, there's going to be an impact.
Yeah.
Termly, as just one CMP option, has really worked very hard to learn those lessons for our clients and how to make that the easiest, most simple, minimized impact that you can have on the site. So when we're talking about Core Web Vitals, obviously crucial, largest contentful paint, keep banners lightweight, load after the main display, the visual elements so they don't delay. Lazy loading is an option. Cumulative layout shift, so reserving a fixed space for the banner is a lovely way to do that. We have, of course, options for like a very minimal banner at the bottom, or you have a little footprint up at the top corner or bottom. You can move around different places, just all of the options in the world to kind of slip that cookie banner into a spot where it's not going to get in the way of any other content loading. And then IMP, interaction to the next paint, avoid full screen modals that block users from interacting. So using small anchored banners instead. Like I said, we have like a very minimal banner that goes across the bottom or the top. If it's going to be out of the way, I don't want to say that it needs to be front and center and noticeable and easy to locate. You definitely don't want to try to hide the banner or it does need to be front and center, but there are ways that you can make it, not the first, the highlight when a visitor
Right.
arrives at the page. So key takeaway, optimize consent banners, just like any other user experience element. Uh,
Yeah.
Privacy
Yeah.
compliance should never cost performance. It should only enhance.
Yeah, it's something, as our partner, we really focus on is how we're putting that script on the page, where things are going to appear. We've worked, having a native integration, I think helps a lot. As I said, Core Web Vitals is something we've been focused on. If you missed our webinar last month, go to dealeron.com/webinars. You'll see the recording there. Lots of fantastic information. And as we continue to report out how, to your point, everything's going to impact. If you're putting something on the website, it's going to impact. And we talked a lot about that last month, where this is a must. So that impact, it's a must, but
Yeah.
minimizing the negative impact of it, that's where your website partners should be focused. So this is some great information to take to your website provider and ask these questions. How are you integrating our cookie banners? Have you taken these considerations into account? And make sure, hold your providers accountable. I think that's what's really, really important in the takeaway.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we talked a lot about banner design. So some tips here with that. And I know the Termly team here focuses a lot on this with yours. So talk
Yeah,
to us a little bit.
absolutely. Yeah, we've done actually a lot of research with over our 2 million users on banner performance, opt-in and opt-out rates based on banner design and customization. So one, using a non-intrusive sticky layout so that users can still browse while deciding. I'm sure that we've all come across this when we arrive at a site and we see the banner. We're like, I don't know what to do. I hate it. What do I decide? Yes, no, I just want to go look at something else. And then when you travel to Europe, of course, they have kind of the modal with the background grayed out, and that's so annoying that you can't see even what is this the right site that I'm at. So don't do that if you don't have to. Non-intrusive, definitely the way to go. Number two, load scripts async to avoid blocking other page assets. So with Termly's tool, you have all the flexibility in the world in determining what's loading and when. So you can do that in such a way that it's not blocking maybe other content that's loading. Three, defer non-essential scripts until after the first render for better speed. Of course, page load speed is going to be so huge. So again, that goes, you can delay those. Number four, making accept and manage preferences buttons visible and accessible. I can't wait to hear Zach's take on the accessibility too in a minute.
That's a big one for me. I'm going to interrupt, because if I can't push that darn button quickly and easily, or if the banner's still moving, and I think about mobile a lot. I already told you I'm an acceptor. Make it easy for me to accept, make it clear, and then get the heck out of my way so that I can move on. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's what it all boils down to, is make it easier for your users. If it's not hard for them to hit accept, most of them will, almost all of them will. And so just taking that friction away, taking that uncertainty away, being, again, I keep going back to kind of the transparency. If you can say, hey, here are your options, here's privacy, here's our commitment to it, and here's our privacy practices, you decide. Most users and visitors to your website are going to say, yeah, sure, collect my data, because they'll trust you to use that to their benefit. And that's ultimately, that's the goal. So making those buttons visible, clear contrast and keyboard support, that is a design tip, but that is also in some of these privacy laws a legal requirement to make those that contrast there. So and number five, test the banner performance regularly. There's a couple tools listed, PageSpeed Insights, Lighthouse. You want to test it, at first, maybe monthly, quarterly, until you've got a really good read on how that banner's performing. When you're adding services to a site, or doing maintenance, or different upkeep and things like that, just run a quick check, make sure the banner's performing as expected, everything is loading as you want it to, and just stay on top of that to ensure that your core web vitals are healthy.
Yes, awesome, great tips. Lots of stuff here. I mean, you alluded to it, but a question that I had was around about what percentage do we know in the automotive space of customers are clicking accept? versus binging?
I would have to look at the exact stat, but I think it's like 85% or
That's where I
something.
thought.
Beyond the vast majority.
I asked because early on when this became a thing a few years ago where we really had to focus on it, that was some dealer feedback too. If I don't want to give customers a choice to not accept. I want the cookies so that I can, personalize information. And I
Yeah,
think we have all found that you can be compliant, offer this, and still not lose that value. So
yeah, yeah,
that's
that's a great
important.
point. And Google Consent Mode comes into play there as well. It makes
Yeah.
the case that employing consent mode, so that when users do click decline, you still get that aggregated data. You still get
Yeah.
some information about how users are visiting a site. So there are a lot of options, and it all boils down to, yes, it's a legal requirement. Yes, we have to be compliant, but there's several ways that we can make it easier on both our users and ourselves. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Perfect. Absolutely. All right. I'm going to bring you back at the end here, but let's shift over to accessibility. I can tell you that in my family, accessibility, because we have a wheelchair user in our family, is there better be a ramp up to the building. There better be handicap spots. There better be, I have a 9-year-old who gets a lot of services through school, speech and OT and PT. That's where my brain, and I think a lot of humans' brains, goes first with accessibility. And then you're thinking, well, people are shopping for a car. Like, how much accessibility do I need to consider on a website? But it's a lot, isn't it, Zach?
It is a lot. I think for me, being a consumer myself, the first spot I go to when I do any form of shopping is to look online. What do you have to offer me? What's the best deal? What's closest? So the easier it is for people to access it and be able to use it is the most important. So when we talk about web accessibility, it's a practice, right? It's something that you also have to keep on top of. It's making sure that you're ensuring that people with disabilities can interact with what you have to offer. Your deals, the cars that you have on the lot, any special financing, all that fun stuff. So it's at its simplest point, it's just helping people with disabilities be able to participate in what you are trying to sell.
Right. And they might not need a wheelchair ramp to get to your website, but there are other considerations. And yes, ADA and laws do apply to websites, not just automotive, of course, but to all.
Right. 1990 was when the ADA was signed, which is kind of hard to believe, in my opinion, that it took that long to begin with. But it wasn't until about 2018 that the Department of Justice really affirmed that even websites need to be considered places of public accommodation. So that's where internet accessibility and web accessibility has really taken off. So over the past however many years it's been now, since 2018, I can't do the simple mental math there in my own mind. It's no big deal. We've seen an uptick in people kind of getting in some hot water in this arena, if you will. So it's something that is highly lucrative for those kind of ambulance chasing lawyers, but at the end of the day, it's very important as well as a business owner to have an accessible website in order to help convert more sales, if you will.
Yeah, a few years ago, I knew a horror story where there was a lawyer, I suppose, who was just shooting letters out to any business saying, here you go, you're not, you're not, you're not, and just seeing what would stick. So that's another Google search that'll give you nightmares, is accessibility lawsuits, car dealer, because it is a legal requirement, to your point. It's important.
Yes, it is. And we've seen this trend increase year over year. Even within the past quarter and the couple months here at Accessibility, we've seen an even greater amount of lawsuits and demand letters go out. So you don't have to just worry about the ADA here in the States, but this is a global thing as well. Canada has laws, particularly in Ontario, that's the AODA, and then Canada itself has the ACA. So you really have to worry about all these different legislations and rules as well too. And being accessible is opening your online door, Aaron alluded to the ramp in front of a store. That's a great analogy I like to use when I talk about this. A lot of my colleagues, in fact, you hear it in our office all the time. Think of online accessibility as having that ramp to your brick and mortar store, because you're opening your website to 28% of adults in the US and 16% of the global population with a disability. So you are opening your net to get more people to come and purchase from you, which is more money in your back pocket.
Yeah, and there's things, it's funny because again, when you think, how does the ADA apply to websites? How do you make a website accessible? There's things, the best example I think of is somebody who's colorblind. Can they
Right.
still access and navigate your website? What are a few other kind of help us put this into kind of
Right.
common sense talk for a
Right.
dealer. What else am I thinking of?
Right. So color blindness is a big issue. Folks that just have a bit of a visual impairment, maybe they have a pair of glasses with some thick lenses, and they need a little extra help with enhancing and magnifying the web page themselves. Think about individuals that might be suffering from Parkinson's disease. They can't use their mouse. They need to be able to use their keyboard and navigate cleanly through the site. So making sure that menus and images and things are in order is very important, so that way they can interact. Folks that come to a website and it's not accessible to them, they're going to leave that website because it's not accommodating to them, and that is just bad for your online business. It's bad for your metrics.
Yeah, and we talked a little about, we got to see each other in person at Digital Dealer last week, which was lovely, but these shoppers are still part of households, and in most cases themselves purchasing a vehicle. Somebody who's colorblind has a license, can drive a car. So these are your shoppers. So similar to how we talked about compliance and privacy, it's not only just a legal requirement, but it's going to build that trust with your
Right.
customers.
Exactly. You'll mitigate the risk of legal action. The more accessible you are, like no one can stop anyone from suing you, but we can at least arm you with the tools to fight these off. So we mitigate the risk of legal action, and we have incredible support to help you through that as well. You're going to reach new audiences and drive more sales, right? As I alluded to, you're opening the door to more people, which can only help you increase those sales conversions there. Think about brand reputation. People who are welcomed to a store, people who really like a buying experience from a store, from a dealership, they're going to come back to you all the time. I'm sure you have experience of this. You might have like a Mr. Johnson that's been purchasing a car from you for the past 30 years, just because of the business that you're conducting with them. It's the same applies for accessibility. You're also going to see a boost in organic traffic for SEO. You're also going to see better performance anyway with the accessibilityness of the site. Google search rankings are going to prioritize more accessible websites over non-accessible websites. So it's a really good benefit to have. It's not a burden, so as some people like to see it. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the good old tax season, you can get up to $5,000 in a tax credit by making your site accessible. So there's great return on your investment.
That's new information for me. I never heard of that. So, hey, if your comptroller's not on the call today, make sure that you give them that fun fact. Um, eh, there's money to spend. We said these are customers. They are shoppers just like any other shopper. So it's just like in day to day, be good humans, do the right thing, and you're going to earn some more business here.
Absolutely. And $8 trillion is a whole lot of money. Off the top of my head, I remember reading this stat just the other day, but roughly like 13 trillion is the annual disposable income of the disability community combined with their friends and family.
Mm.
So think about the greater outreach that you have as well.
Yeah.
And just as a quick little sidebar story about the disabled community and having disposable income. My wife's grandfather had macular degeneration. So towards the end of his life, he was blind. And while he wasn't an internet user, but just to show you the power of the purse here, he was really into just sitting in his living room and listening to the TV. Commercials would come on, and that's when like the big green egg, that grill smoker, came out.
Mhm.
And so he called my father-in-law to come over and he gave him money to go and buy himself a grill. So when they hear things, they want to participate, they want to give gifts, they want to make sure that their grandkids have fun things, they want to make sure that their kids have big green eggs, grills, can all boil down to apply to cars too.
Absolutely. Big green eggs. I just have a regular barbecue, but
Yeah.
we can hope, right? But it's funny because I think about how dealers, I don't ever think of car dealers as small businesses because we do big business here. We're selling cars, folks. But this is a small business to you. I'm sure that your dealers are thinking of yourselves different ways, but I think you're big business. But this is big deal for dealers.
Yes, it is. 2/3 of accessibility lawsuits target businesses earning less than $25 million annually. Um, they know, these lawyers that do this, they know that you'll be scared by them. They know that you're easy prey. They know that you would probably be quick to settle because you don't want to go through the burden, the process of fighting it in court, going
Right.
through the entire suit, which just causes more fees, more headache, right? So they know who to target. And it's kind of logical. Think of like a really big brand. If someone sued Walmart for their website not being accessible, Walmart's got money for days. They got lawyers for days. They can drag this out and win just simply
Sure.
by doing all the legalese and the paperwork. So that's just a little tip for you, that they're going to go after folks that are vulnerable and that they can pick on. They're bullies, essentially.
Right. And that's one of the big benefits of our customers who have Accessibility is that litigation support where,
Yes.
so a dealer with Accessibility, if they get that letter, they've got support, they've got the resources, but without an accessibility partner, to your point, it's how much are you going to put into fighting this, knowing that maybe you weren't compliant, maybe you weren't following the letter of the law. So it is another one of those critical aspects to make sure that you're covered and protected because it is costly. And this is just another breakdown to scare, spooky season. Let's keep scaring everybody, right?
Right.
With this is what you could be looking at.
Yeah. It can be time consuming. It's a headache. I want to save you the headache, essentially. So, you have to pay for the plaintiff's law firm their legal fees. So that can range from 5 to 15 grand. Your own defense attorney can be 5 grand, depending on who you got. And then, what these courts like to do at the end of the day is you have to do something to make your site accessible or to improve the accessibility of the site. So that can be from 5,000 to upwards of $20,000 for someone to do a manual audit of your website, and then for you to invest the remediation costs. So providing or going to a developer to go through and make all these changes by hand, that can be a time-consuming process as well too. And of course, once a lawsuit's settled or has gone through the process and you don't make changes, or if it's too long, you can be susceptible to another round of litigation. So once these lawyers find someone that's going to pay them and be scared by them, they'll circle back to you. They've marked you. They'll come back. We've seen that time and time again.
Yeah. It is scary business, but again, similar, we're going to do it because we have to, but it's going to help in the long run too, right? There's good benefits here.
Yeah. 3/4 of websites experience an increase of organic traffic. One of the sessions I sat on at Digital Dealer was talking about SEO and improving your organic traffic and how you can target. The presenter had some really nice tips and tricks. And I was in the back and I really wanted to chirp in and say, well, why not be accessible too? Folks do go out of their way to search for accessible dealership websites. They will find you and they'll come back to you as well.
Perfect. Okay, let's see. We're doing great on time. Guidelines. Yes. Give me
Right.
some actionable, give me some rules, give me the
Right.
homework. Well, give them
Right.
the homework. I'll just watch, but
There
yeah.
you go. So we talk about all these acronyms for legislation, ADA, AODA. But all of these laws and when courts action these lawsuits, they go back to guidelines or standards. So that's the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. These are the pillars of what accessibility is. So you can think of it as the acronym POUR. We're all big fans of acronyms. So perceivable. So information has to be presented in ways users can perceive. So making sure that you have alternative text for images. This is how blind users are able to use their screen readers on your website. To make sure that a silver Chevrolet Silverado is properly named on your website is important to them because maybe they're looking for a green one and they can keep on searching. Operable goes back to the keyboard navigation. Sarah mentioned with the cookie consent, making sure that people can hit accept or manage their own cookies or their data. That's one of the big components of this, is making sure that a person who can't use their mouse can go into a form or be able to just navigate and interact with their tab key and their keyboard, and making sure that things are understandable, everything's clear, everything is, nice and predictable, so that way a user doesn't bounce around, they can go in a nice order. And to make sure that things work across mobile, on a desktop, if you have a mobile application, or even a web app, making sure that those are accessible too. PDFs are another big one as well. So any digital asset you have, really, the more accessible they are, the better off you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, as I said, DealerOn here, we partner with Accessibility and Accessibility Solution. You can see here. So Zach, get one more reason. Let's say, I'm a dealer. I'm looking at Accessibility. Why Accessibility over any of the other tools out there?
Right. What I always say is it boils down to how we can help you comply with these legislations and how we are always on top of the standards for accessibility. We are members of the World Wide Web Consortium, who are the makers of the WCAG. We know what these guidelines are doing. We know how they'll change. We are on top of it. We are constantly updating our products and making sure our services are up to par to help you guys comply with all of these legislations, on top of being there should you receive any form of demand letter or lawsuit. Time and time again, we've helped out our customers with fighting lawsuits, getting these dismissed by courts. We were recently named in an Eastern District Court of New York as an accessibility solution for ADA compliance. It's the first time that a specific company and a specific product has been named to help fight off these lawsuits.
That's awesome. Yes. And we are proud to have you as our partner along with Termly here for compliance and support. So we have so many DealerOn customers with Termly. Sarah, I'm going to put you on the spot with the same question. Why Termly versus some of the other folks out there?
Yeah, great question. There are other CMPs, other consent management platforms, and other tools widely available. Termly is the best for a couple of reasons. All of the different moving parts, the different components to privacy compliance. It's not just the cookie banner. It's just not that script blocking. It's the privacy policy. It's the DSAR. It's the guidance from our in-house legal team should you need clarification on privacy law, all of those different things. So Termly's the best at putting all of those together and checking all of those boxes for the essentials of privacy compliance without kind of the we'll just say bloated tools, some of the other ones that are out there that might be a little bit more than what you need or want to pay for.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Been around since 2017, I think, and really been a leader in this space since then, over 2 million users worldwide. And you can see all the stars and fun logos. We're a gold Google CMP partner. So that is really important when you're looking at, like I mentioned, consent mode. You want to make sure that you're future proofing when you're picking partners for these solutions and get a term.
Absolutely. It's planning for tomorrow is critical. Well, we are happy to have both Termly and Accessibility as partners here at DealerOn. For our DealerOn customers, listen, if you don't have one of these solutions yet, you better call me afterwards. You can email us at webinars@dealeron.com and we can absolutely help you get set up. If you're not a DealerOn customer yet, not only will we talk about Termly and Accessibility, but we'll show you a killer website as well. So reach out. Sarah, Zach, I think that's it for us today. And as promised, I'm going to give everybody a little time back on this spooky Thursday. So thank you both so much, and everybody else, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Aaron.